Hi there, Dr. Todd Christy here, Speaker of the House, Michigan Dental Association. Wanted to bring you up with information that's getting ready for our House of Delegates this year. And this time we're going to focus on the reference committee. So let me go through and we'll share the page and show you what's going on. All right. Well, one of the most important parts of our association is the reference committee. So tonight and today, or wherever you're listening to this, we're going to review this as to what it is. Now, the reference committee is typically to arrive at recommendations for the action on the items of the business referred to it, meaning all those resolutions that you have before you are brought to the reference committee. It's usually done by them studying the resolutions and background information, hearing testimony from the MDA membership, and providing recommendations for action to the House of Delegates at its second meeting on Saturday afternoon. Now, the advantage of using the reference committee: it permits the House of Delegates to deal with many resolutions without the House having to spend time to hear full debate on every item. Each resolution may receive more in-depth consideration than it may receive from or during the House. Informal consideration is permitted, however, the limits on length and number of speeches may be relaxed to allow for more input from members than might occur in a formal session. And also allows for non-delegate members to provide testimony, which opens the broadest perspective on issues that the House alone might have. What does this mean? It means that any member of the Michigan Dental Association is able to come to the reference committee hearing and provide testimony to the reference committee in regards to its deliberations that it will have. So how is the MDA reference committee put together? Well, from our bylaw, it says each committee shall consist of 3 or more members appointed by the Speaker at least 60 days prior to annual session. Now, at this time, our reference committee is constituted of 9 delegates or alternates that all come from the House of Delegates. In the past, for our MDA House, there were up to 4 reference committees being utilized. With the changes in governance over the years, this number is now currently reduced down to 1 reference committee. So what's the process of the reference committee? Well, once the reference committee has its resolutions submitted to it, it must go through and organize and order the resolutions, obtain and study the relevant background information, hold the open hearing to receive comments, opinions, testimony, and any additional background information, and last, prepare the recommendations for the House of Delegates to consider at its second meeting. In regards to the reference committee hearing, these hearings are the most common way for the reference committee and all members of the Michigan Dental Association to receive testimony to differing sides of a subject. The hearing setting allows for differing arguments and less available background information to come to light. So people, if they're reading through or have an opinion, can bring these out at this give testimony at these hearings. Ultimately, the hearing allows for the reference committee to have a complete picture of the resolution and the views of the Michigan Dental Association members before it prepares and finalizes the recommendations that it will make to the House. Now, at this, there is a chairperson, so we have a chairperson and 8 committee members of the reference committee. The chair presides at the hearing and carries out the usual duties of a chair by maintaining order, facilitating the transaction of business, ruling on the length of germaneness of discussion, and last, the chair should not permit the making of motions or taking of formal votes at the open hearing. This is a hearing. This is not debate. We are not going through and saying, I want to change this part of the resolution, by providing an amendment or anything. Although you can provide and say, here's why I think this might work better. But we're not making motions. We're not taking votes. That's the biggest thing. But you can make suggestions. At the start of the reference committee hearing, the chair reads the statement about participation by delegates, alternates, MDA members, and non-members. The chair is also going to ask that all non-MDA members to identify themselves along with their affiliation with outside groups. Non-members, both dentist and non-dentist, are typically permitted to participate as long as they have information to contribute and do not interfere with the orderly conduct of the hearing. During the reference committee hearings, committee members can ask questions of those providing testimony. They should never express opinions or enter into debate, should listen carefully and to evaluate all sides presented. During the reference committee, a person giving testimony to the committee can, well, first we want to do is, as always when we do anything, is state their name and their component affiliation. State whether they are in support or not in support of the resolution, and provide their testimony. Now, they may offer an amendment with language they are proposing, but the amendment is not formally introduced. This is a general discussion. We are not making formal amendments or no formal amendments are made at this time. Now, for decorum and behavior at the hearing, all members have the right to be heard. No member should be denied the right to testify. And all must be recognized to speak and be respectful of others in their testimony. We'll take no disparaging remarks about individuals or groups. None of those are permitted. Testimony should only address the merits or lack thereof of the resolutions themselves. We want to stay on topic, stay focused on what we're working on. And any disruptive person, if they will not refrain from speaking, will be ejected from the hearing room. Yes, ejected from the hearing room. We have no place for people being disruptive at the reference committee, as in the House. So the reference committee will listen to the presentations, to the testimony that's given on all those areas. Typically, this lasts up to an hour, and then they'll go through into their own deliberations. So once that hearing is concluded, they deliberate in executive session to review on the opinions and testimony they received on all resolutions. The members will have the opportunity to share their information and opinions during the committee's deliberations. Once all information is considered and the overall direction is approved, they'll begin to develop the recommendations that they will make to the House of Delegates. What are these recommendations? Well, they have a great deal of latitude in creating the recommendations to the House of Delegates. Typically, they will do one of the following. They'll either recommend the approval of the resolution as written, recommend defeat of a resolution as written, recommend a referral of the resolutions to the Board of Trustees for further study or action, offer an amendment to the resolutions where appropriate, or offer in lieu of resolutions. And so we'll talk more about those later on. And last, they'll go through and place resolutions on the consent calendar. The reference committee is going to prepare a written report with the recommendations on each item of business for the House. The recommendations are clear and unambiguous in their meaning, and the report may include the committee's rationale for its recommendation. This is especially important when recommendations are not based on information presented at the open hearing. The report should provide a clear, logical presentation of the recommendations for ease and understanding by the House of Delegates. So there's a few things that are here, and I know actually the consent calendar is one spot that we'll talk about coming up at another subsequent presentation. But these are areas what you'll see from the reference committee. So excited to see everyone at the upcoming House and look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much.